Hey lovelies, thanks for stopping by my channel today. I am excited to be doing a little try on with you today. This is probably going to be a fairly quick video, but I could not resist dipping into the new Serengeti highlights from What's Up Beauty. They did send these over to me and I am so very excited. I mean, look at the packaging on these. It's so good. Absolutely beautiful. This is not a product that I would normally dedicate a whole video to, but I just think they're so beautiful, and sometimes it's, seeing if the inside is going to be as good as the outside. So these products do launch on the 29th, and I'm going to give you all my thoughts on this. We will do some hand swatches comparing the shades. We'll of course do cheek swatches. I don't currently have any highlighter on, so we're going to dip into this. But if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly, and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's dive into this. I do have to say, I have already filmed this video. I already filmed it, I just didn't have my microphone on. So there will be portions of this that are from yesterday because I want you to be able to see the beautiful embossing before my little fingers got into it. They still look really nice, but I want you to see them fresh and pristine. So that part of the video I will be sharing with you from yesterday. Now again, the brand did send these over to me and I was really excited. I have of course seen this brand on Instagram, but I have never tried anything. I will say I have been very tempted because this brand really kills it with the aesthetics. Like the Geode palette was just like drool worthy. Oh my gosh. I mean, the color story looks lovely. The packaging is just so gorgeous. I've also heard great things about the mascara. So I was really excited to get an opportunity to try something from this brand. So let me give you a few of the details. They did send over this little flyer, which I really appreciate because it goes into, sort of their thoughts behind it and some of the inspiration. So these Serengeti highlighters will retail for $34 and they say that they are talc-free, cruelty-free, vegan, and that they have moisturizing ingredients. The brand also markets these as clean. However, I do always like to mention, there's no standardization on that word. It can just kind of be whatever. So look into it if there's ingredients that you're not looking for or that you are looking for, and you can make those decisions for yourself. So What's Up Beauty says that these are soft to the touch and made from superfine natural and synthetic micas, and that the product has a weightless feel, not cakey or powdery, and that it's buildable and increases its intensity with each layer. All right, so they say that the final finish is a radiant, soft focus glow with a blurring effect. So they say that they smooth the texture on your skin, which powder highlights don't usually do that. So that's a big claim right there. So as you will see, each pan has two colors in it. So obviously you can use those individually. You can mix them together. You could do sort of a more dimensional highlight where maybe you have the deeper one and then you extra spotlight the tippity top of your cheekbone with the lighter shade, whatever you want to do. And they also note that these are formulated with squalane and glycerin. Now again, the brand really just killed it on the whole aesthetic of this. I mean, everything from the packaging, you can see the embossing there, and I mean, a black and rose gold moment. Can we just? You know that I love that. So here is what the palette looks like. You can see how beautiful that is. I love the depth that this background has, and of course the cheetah is beautiful in the acacia tree. I kind of wish that the brand didn't, I feel like it would be even more luxe if the brand did not have their logo on the front. I think that maybe they could have popped it on the back. I do appreciate that it says the shade name on the back because both of these do look the same in the palette packaging. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And again, we do have two shades. We have Wild Acacia and Safari Sunset. So now let's talk about the embossing. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the clips from yesterday where I showed you before I swiped through them, but these are intricately designed with a Serengeti grassland scene featuring a cheetah relaxing in the grass surrounded by giraffes and acacia trees. So the inspiration for this came from the founder's husband and his parents who grew up in East Africa, and they of course shared childhood stories enjoying the wildlife in the beautiful parks around Arusha and Nairobi, including the Serengeti National Park. And What's Up Beauty is donating a portion of the proceeds from these products to the Serengeti Cheetah Project of Tanzania. So that is really great. So now let's go ahead and get into this. I'm gonna give you some swatches on the back of my hand and then we'll get into applying on the face. So before we get started with the swatches, I'm just gonna turn down my center light just a smidge here. We have Wild, that is a champagne pearl, and then Acacia, which is an iridescent light gold with sheer pink base. So you can see that there, trying not to blind you with the mirror. Oh, I already have fingerprints on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and swatch these. So again, you can use these on their own. You could also go through and use these mixed together. And I really think that it is nice to have multiple options within one tiny palette. You know, just recently in my face palette video, I was saying that I just find that I'm not wanting big palettes that have a multitude of options in them. But when there's a product that is as small as a standard, you know, one shade highlighter and has a couple options in there, that is actually really nice. So also we have Safari Sunset, and Safari Sunset has the Safari shade, which is the cheetah, which is listed as a light copper, and then the Sunset shade is an iridescent gold with sheer pink base. So I'm going to swatch these and then we can compare them all together. And this is definitely one that is a little bit deeper. So these are obviously on just, you know, the back of my hand dry. So I think that this shade Wild is a very, very light pearly shade. I wouldn't say that it's very champagne-y. To me, champagne has maybe a bit more neutrality. I mean, I guess this is fairly neutral. It leans a little bit. It leans a little bit on the cooler side, on that icy side, but that could just be because it's so fair. And then Acacia is that iridescent light gold, and it does have a bit of sheer pink to it. So it is really pretty. This shade is my favorite by far. I mean, are you shocked? I know that they're saying it's a copper. I would say it really is kind of in that rose gold. So it is just beautifully stunning. And then the bottom one is Sunset, which is that iridescent gold with a sheer pink base. So one thing that I did after, you know, playing with these a little bit yesterday is just kind of playing with how they could be worn. And I don't know if any of you remember, if you've been around for a while, there was a lot of talk about like spraying and having like your skin a little bit damp and then applying powder highlight over the top. So what I did is I did my arm and I sprayed a little bit of MAC Fix Plus and then I swatched the shades over that, and I was amazed at how much more it brought out the undertones in these shades. It also does make them much more electric, and you could obviously build these up even more, but I don't even think to this amount most people are going to want to wear this way. However, I am going to show you those swatches that I did on the inside of my arm just so you can see how like ba-bam you could really get these, because especially the bottom shade, you'll be able to see the shade Sunset in that little clip. Like, it really has that duochrome look to it. So it's just a nice option for anyone that really does want something that's really electrically, like blindingly highlighty. That's not me, however. Most of you know that I really don't lean into powder highlights all that much. When I do, I want something that is still fairly subtle, glowy. It doesn't necessarily have to be lit from within, you know, whenever that became the standard like phrase for a natural looking highlight, but I just don't want it to have a lot of sparkle. I definitely don't want it to have a thicker texture to it, because that definitely accentuates the texture on the skin, and it can also tend to lead into a recessed look when you're not in the light. So something that's thicker and more foiled, while it's in the light, it might look really blinding, but when it's not directly in the light, it can actually sink in your cheek because it looks more recessed. Okay, there's my rambles. So that's my thoughts on that initially going into this. So I am going to zoom you in a bit. I do have two brushes here. I have two brushes here. We're going to be doing one side with Wild Acacia and the other side with Safari Sunset. We'll do both colors, kind of mix them together at the end, and we'll see what we think. Well, I already know what I think, but we'll see what you think. Let's get into it. All right, there is some sort of a truck out there beeping away, but I'm just gonna keep going here. So Wild Acacia, again, is the lighter of the two compacts. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do Wild, which is the lightest one, on the top, and then we'll do Acacia just underneath, just so you can hopefully see the full impact. So we're gonna start out, and again, just a little bit. That is one thing that I will tell you right away, is you don't need a lot if you're just looking for a subtle glow. So we're going to just place Wild. I mean, I barely tapped. I barely tapped into the pan, and you know, this is not exactly the airiest of brushes, but it's not exactly a dense brush either. This is one that I really like using. I don't really talk about this brush because it's a Morphe brush. It's a Morphe brush. I've had these for a while in my collection. Never again will I be purchasing anything, but this is a nice highlight brush. So you can see right there, I mean, that is with the teeniest bit of Wild. Yesterday when I applied it, and maybe I will pop a little clip of it in, it was a lot. It was like, it blended out really nicely, but it was a lot. So now we're gonna go underneath that with Acacia, which is the iridescent light gold. And then that does have that sheer pink base. So I would say, I mean, you can see how this has a little bit more warmth to it. So you have a cool tone and a warm tone, which means if you mix them together, you should get something more on the neutral side, which is nice. You know, you have some options there. Like if you could very easily just have this one highlight and you could be doing a cool tone look, a warm tone look, or then decide to like just throw caution to the wind, mix them together, and then have something more neutral. But I think some of that warmth you're seeing is my bronzer. But you can definitely see the difference between those two. And the gold is not overly electric, but it's definitely more warm. And I will, once we're done, I will take a fluffy brush and just blend these out even more so that you can see. But I think to really compare the two, you'll want to see it kind of in like full force. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, so now we're gonna take Safari Sunset. So Safari is the light copper. We're gonna pop this one on top. Now I am still fairly tan for myself, but I'm not like at the height of summer. I'm definitely leaning a little bit more into what is my fall and winter skin shade. I was worried when I saw the swatches. I'll go ahead and post the brand swatches. I was like, oh, that darker one is not going to work for me. It's going to be too much, but it really isn't. I mean, you can see here, this, I think, honestly, this floats my boat more than this does. This is more icy than I would prefer. Maybe I'll feel differently when the winter comes, but it's just more than I would want. So this is really beautiful. Now we're gonna go into Sunset and we'll place that below. So hopefully you can see that. Now, as much as I love Safari, I think Sunset for me is too warm. It's too gold. It's definitely, you don't really notice it in swatches. It's more once it hits the skin. And I have a fairly neutral leaning, like warm olive skin. And it's just a little too much. This just isn't a tone that I would necessarily wear on the regular. Now, maybe if I mixed the two together and the Safari would cut some of that gold a little bit, but it's just too much for me. That being said, I think it could be really lovely on a richer skin tone. It's just a little more than what I want. So I'm gonna try to get a little closer here. Hopefully you can see that. So this one is Safari Sunset. And this is Wild Acacia. So I do think the nice thing is if you are really, really light, this is gonna be one that you can still wear. You know, like sometimes, and trust me, I know that a lot of deeper skin tones struggle in all areas of the market, but I also think that there are people that are just so light that there really isn't a highlight out there that would work for them. I do think that Wild would actually work because it's pretty darn light. I think that medium to medium deep skin could wear Safari Sunset. I don't know if the deepest of skin could wear it. I mean, the base is fairly sheer, but I do feel like I guess it depends on your aesthetic. I will be very curious to see some creators who have more medium to deep or the deepest of skin to really see. But those are my initial thoughts. So now let's just go ahead and blend this out. I'm going to try to find a brush here. Let's just take this Wayne Goss 01 brush and we're just going to kind of buff this. I mean, I feel like that took it down a little bit, but it is still quite shiny. It's quite a gleam, but it, you know, it doesn't give, I'm probably freaking my camera out right now by dipping in and out so much, but it doesn't give extra texture to the skin. I wouldn't say that it blurs the skin. It's not blurring any texture. There's no blurring going on here. It's a shiny product, y'all. That doesn't happen. So I think that this is a pretty product. I also think that my mascara has run a bit. That's lovely. At any rate, if I were to wear this product, this is about the level at most that I would want to wear it. Now let's go ahead and buff out this side here. And for me, it's just about like blurring that into the skin a little bit more, getting off a bit of that like extra metallic feel. I mean, it's not overly much, but this is about where I would want to wear it. So hopefully that is helpful to you. Obviously, I think that you could use these for putting on before a blush too, to create a glowy blush. I think that would be really pretty. I already have blush on, so I don't need to do that. So I'm gonna zoom you out here. All right, so now that we are a little bit further out, this is Wild Acacia buffed in, and this is Safari Sunset buffed in. Okay, before I get into my final thoughts, I do just want to let you know, as far as wear time goes, both of these lasted really nicely throughout the evening. Now, I would say that I probably had them on for about 6 hours, which isn't the longest of long days, but they looked nice for that entire 6 hours. Now, again, I'm also someone who doesn't expect a ba-bam, see me from outer space highlight. I don't really actually want that, so I can't tell you if it fades if you build it up to that extreme, but I thought that it wore on the skin really lovely. So that being said, these highlights are $34. Now, I don't think, especially for me not being a powder girly, I don't think that these are a bad highlight formula. I think that it is a nice formula. I don't think that it's anything revolutionary though, you know, and I think that this is the brand's first foray into highlights. So I think that they did a nice job. You know, sometimes a brand can come out with a highlight and it's either too thick, it does nothing, it's like too chalky, and it's none of those things. These are nice. I just think, you know, there's a lot of highlights out there, so it has to be something that is, you know, stands out in the crowd. The thing that makes these stand out is the packaging. So if you really like the look of one of these, you like a powder highlight, and you just are drooling over the packaging and the embossing the way that I was. Embossing, I can appreciate, but at the end of the day, I know at some point it's gonna go away. Now, this is pretty deep embossing, so I think that you'll have this nice, you know, scene for a while, but it obviously does go away. However, I already told the brand, I was like, this packaging is gorgeous. Please, please start making compacts or hand mirrors, because I would love one. I mean, especially in that geode packaging, oh my gosh. They just really kill it with the aesthetic. So I think it is a very pretty package with a nice product inside. It is not a revolutionary product, but it is a very nice product. So I will have the brand website linked down below if you do want to check these highlighters out. Again, they do come out on the 29th. I am pleasantly surprised. For a powder highlight, I am pleasantly surprised. I would absolutely wear this. I'm going to enjoy getting to play with these under blush, you know, working with these over the top buffed out like I enjoy. I know that shade Safari, this one, the poor cheetah is gonna leave the scene before the acacia trees do, because I love this shade so much. I'm sure you're not surprised. All right, lovelies, that is it for this video. If you have any questions about these highlighters, please drop it down in the comments. I would love to help you out if there's anything that I can do, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with me, and I will see you really soon.